Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Cynthia Linox Show. I am your host, Cynthia Linox. One of the things I like about my audience, one of the things I like about you is that you let me know what's working and what is not working. And one of the questions that was posed, or one of the comments that was made actually, is that it's the how one get to the place of uh, working your strategy, working your journey, going through the journey. How do you get to that place of self-discovery? How do you get to that place? What are the things that you need to look for? What are the things that you need to do? What are the things that you need to be mindful of? What are the things that you need to know? And to begin with, this whole journey of self-discovery, and now that we have moved into the identity phase, all of it has to do with unlearning the things that you have learned that were taught to you. Remember, you were taught who to be. You didn't just come out knowing or being your authentic self. You were taught who to be. Your identity was shaped by, again, your teachers, your parents, social construct, religious indoctrination. It was shaped by these external influences. All these external factors is what really shaped the way you think, the way you see things, the way you process things. And in most cases, it has to do with what the collective think. How do we do things around here? How do we do things in this society? You and I know that it all depends on what part of the universe you were born. You become that type of person based on the culture. So, but the thing here is not to change who you are. It is to return to that person that you started out being, is to return to your original blueprint, to discover your original blueprint and to come out with that. It's a becoming that person that you already are. So again, it is unlearning the things that were imposed upon you and discovering your true self. So that's one of the things that we're going to touch on today. And when I say unlearning, it really has to do, you have to demolish. There has to be a funeral of your old self. Once you understand what has happened to you and that you have been formed and shaped and really been created into the person that you are, and that's why sometimes there's anxiety and frustration. Why? Because you are not being your true authentic self. So that self has to die. There has to be a funeral. There has to be things about you that you need to get rid of. And until you get rid of those things, you will continue to just be what you were created to be. So you're going to have to change habits. You're going to have to change your mentality. No more negative thinking, no more bad talking to yourself. You're going to have to change. You're going to have to look at your boundaries. You're going to have to consider your health, because, you want to be a healthy person mentally and physically. You're going to have to revisit your standards. You're going to have to change your priorities. And of course, you're going to have to take a look at your boundaries. What are the boundaries that you have imposed upon yourself? And all of that is going to reshape. It's going to bring you back to the original blueprint of who you are, the original blueprint of your identity, your authentic identity and not one that's been imposed upon you. So you're going to have to bury the old self and bring to light the new person that you are discovering, that you are unfolding, that you are returning to. Now, one of the things that I do, or one of the things that's most important to me, and I'm going to just give this to you as a frame of reference so that you can know. I started with certain things once I discovered, the core of who I am, my value, my worth, and all of that. I start thinking of things that are non-negotiable, things that I am not willing to negotiate with people, and one of the things that is so crucial, critical, the main important thing to me is self-betrayal. Self-betrayal is not negotiable. It is a non-negotiable. What do I mean by that? I am not about to betray my intuition, my feeling, my thoughts, my ideas. Doesn't mean that I'm closed-minded. No, it just means that when I am super convinced of something, when I know something, when I am fully persuaded of something, when I know it, I am not willing to betray that just to appease someone else or to become palatable to, even if it's a group of people, even if it's 2 billion people that are thinking the same thing. If I know something about me, and if I know something about the truth that I live in, then I am not willing to betray myself in order to appease the masses. That is a non-negotiable. So I'm just giving you that as a guideline, and I'll give you a few things that are important to me, and then you can use that so that you can know those things. And that has to do with, the core of my identity. I am not going to betray myself to appease or to please anyone, whether it's, kids, husband, friends, family, it just doesn't matter. Me, myself, and I come first. Another thing that I'm not going to do, I'm not going to shrink myself either. Of course, when I'm in a group of people, I rather remain silent than to shrink myself in order to be accepted, in order to make others comfortable. I'm not going to like play small, play humble, or just minimize my accomplishments, my likes, my dreams, my goals. I'm not going to bring it down simply to please the crowd or to make people comfortable. If somebody, if I'm in a crowd of people, because I accept people as they are, but I don't necessarily stay with them if we're not in alignment. That's just not something that I do. But yes, you respect and you accept people as they are and where they are, because we are all at different levels of growth, of development, of understanding, of knowing certain things. So I'm not going to shun anyone that may be on a different plane. And it doesn't mean it's higher or lower. It just means that they are on a different plane. You may have a different understanding than I do. And if we can exchange ideas and align with whatever thing that that resonates with us both, that's great. But if you are in a box, limited thinking, limited belief, I'm going to respect that, but I'm going to move on. So again, I'm not going to shrink myself. That is a non-negotiable, totally non-negotiable. Another thing that is a non-negotiable for me is I'm not going to outsource my identity to a belief system. I'm not going to outsource my identity to a title or any kind of systems, because this society is made up of systems, And if you're woke, you will know what they are relative to the circle that you are in, and you can make those decisions for yourself. But I am not going to outsource my thinking or to get my information from a system, or uh, be involved with titles and labels and things of that nature. No, no, no. That's not what's going to shape my identity. That's not what I identify with. So that is also a non-negotiable. Another non-negotiable is alignment. I we had an experience over the weekend. We were out and looking at cars and so forth, and I kind of missed it because I wasn't prepared. Where we went to a place where I knew I didn't want to go there, but my husband, that was his idea, so we just went. And the first place we went, I said to the guy, "This is not it. I'm not feeling it," and so forth. And then we went to another place, and it was even worse. I didn't feel any kind of resonance with their product and so forth, the vehicles they offered. And for some reason, I wasn't forthright. I wasn't strong in my delivery to say this is not working. I kind of just, by then I was just exhausted. And but then we walked out, and that was okay. But I could have taken a stronger stance. I knew that I wasn't going to compromise and waste anybody's time, neither his time, the salesperson, or our time. But sometimes anyway, that's why it's always good to be intentional, to know what you want, to know where you're going, to know who you are, and so forth. You must know and how you're going to deliver. Doesn't mean you're perfect all the time, but if you're mindful and intentional, then you can have a better approach most of the time, unless somebody catches you off guard and so forth. But so that is a non-negotiable. I am not willing to, if it doesn't align with me, because alignment is what really alignment. It's like the glove that fits you. Alignment is like a puzzle that fits perfectly, and that that's the groove that it goes into. Alignment is what fits like a glove. And once you understand it, and once it fits, then everything else begins to flow. Once it fits you, once it fits, it's like a pair of shoes. I'm at this stage in my life now where I don't when I buy a pair of shoes, I am not about to break anything in. That that era has passed, and I have had situations like that before, where I would, I just bought the shoes because I loved it, and I would wear it, go out, be uncomfortable, and be in discomfort all evening or whatever, but cute, but really uncomfortable. I'm not about to do that in this season of my life. You remember, I call this the soft life. And in this season of my life, I am not willing to break anything in. Relationships, friendship, if it doesn't align, then it simply does not align. Another thing also, if it's going to cost me my authenticity, if it's going to cost me being authentic, because you know what I have realized? People would say things like, yes, I like you to be authentic and so forth. But when you meet up with someone that's really authentic in their delivery, it doesn't mean that you don't use wisdom or protocol and things of that nature, but to deliver the truth and to tell somebody. Now, when I say deliver the truth, I'd rather just remain silent than to be offensive to someone. But if it has to do with me, uh, my opinion, my views, my thoughts, then I'm going to be authentic. And if it's going to cost me peace, then it's too expensive. Those are non-negotiable. Those are the non-negotiables for me. Uh, Another thing is I'm going to question everything. As a matter of fact, my husband, he knows, like when he's sharing something with me, he said, "That's all I know, sweetheart. That is all I know. I didn't research it. I didn't check it out. I didn't fact check. This is all I know." So he's telling me that. Why? Because he knows that I'm going to ask questions. I'm going to want to know why, who, where. If it's something relative to us, if it's some kind of external thing or or just frivolous information, I don't really care. And if I do care, then I'll just look it up. Like the other night we were watching, I forgot who it was. Anyway, some interview on TV, and I wanted to know, well, this person just seems a little weird. And I'm like, yeah, who? Like, so I looked it up. The person is a public person, and I just wanted to know, like, what's up with this person, and that was it. So, but I'm gonna ask questions. I'm gonna ask a lot of questions. One of my non-negotiables, anything that requires self-denial, anything, because I've done that before, yielded to a belief system and self-denied myself. That's not gonna happen. Yielded to a belief system, and that's what I call a performative life. You perform because of a belief system, not because that's really what you want to do, or not because that's really what you think about, or not because that's really what you believe, but it is a system that you have subscribed to with the collective, and based on those belief system, you deny your true self. That is a non-negotiable for me. Again, I'm giving you all these things so that you can take stock and determine what works for you. Determine what works for you. Anything that keeps me in survival mode, again, that is a non-negotiable. Even a thought, the thought, oh, that's too expensive. I cannot afford it. We can't do this. We can't do that. I can't do this. I can't do that. Oh, no. But anything that keeps me in survival mode, that is a non-negotiable. I'm going to figure out if it's something that I need or if it's something that I want, desire. I'm going to figure out a way to solve the situation. I am not going to part there with the thoughts going over and over and over and over in my mind. No. If it keeps me in survival mode, I am out. I am out. Another thing is, I think I mentioned self-betrayal. That's one of the worst things you can do to yourself. Betray yourself in order to appease someone else. Betray yourself. Betray your own identity simply to fit, to conform, to be approved, to be affirmed, to be accepted, and you betray the reality of who you are, because you'll be saying, well, if I come off too confident or too self-assured, they may not like that and they may not choose me. So you betray who you really are in order to appease the collective, the group, the crowd, the whatever situation you're in. That is a non-negotiable. And these are all things that I have buried, had a funeral for those, for these non-negotiables. As I said, you're gonna have to die to the old self. You're gonna have to die to the limitations of the old self. You're going to have to get rid of it. You're gonna have to have a funeral and say no mas, no more of that old self that succumbs to things that things, people, places, situations, just to please other people. So self-betrayal is just, that's just not gonna happen. Explaining, justify, defending my evolution. That is something also that comes up a lot, because people would ask me, well, how did you get to this place? Now, if they really want to know simply because you want to know so that you can figure things out for yourself, that's one thing. But if it's to challenge my position on something, that is, I'm not about to explain, to give excuses, to defend. That's even worse, because when you come into your truth, uh, when you come into your truth doesn't need to be defended, because truth aligns with with facts, with things that like someone said to me, they were talking about their beliefs, and I said, well, I used to believe the same way. And of course, we were talking about religion. I said, well, I used to believe the same way, but then I came to realize that my belief, or the way I felt and thought, was based on a belief system. There was no verifiable proof. There was no demonstrable proof. There was nothing. There was nothing. There was nothing that would indicate the reality of my belief. It was all a thought, my imagination. And once I came to that, now understand, that's like one of the hardest thing. That's one of the most difficult thing for you to come to terms with, because people would say, I know that I know that I know that I know, yet you can't prove anything. And the fact that you know doesn't mean that I know or anybody else. They only know what you're saying. So what you know, that's a personal experience, personal thoughts, personal opinion, personal views, personal belief system. Yes, it may be based on the collective, but if you choose, just like me, I knew, or there was a period of time where I chose to believe the way I believed, didn't make it true. And when I came into this evolving into my truth, I realized, Cynthia, all of it is based on a belief. All of it is based on a belief. So for me now, whatever it is that you believe doesn't apply to me at all. So, when someone says things like, like I'll be praying for you, I don't need you to pray for me. I don't, you and I know prayer don't work, because if prayer worked, we would be in the hospitals praying for babies and children that are sick, ill. Everyone, not only babies, but adults as well. We would be the other side of the world, in the Middle East, praying for the innocent people that are dying. But it's happening every day, as we speak, every moment. So to say I'm going to pray for you, no, all of that's a non-negotiable. I don't, and if you do it, it's going to be on your time, and it won't affect me, because that's not something that I believe in. So all of these things, all of these non-negotiables is what I started out with. I will not negotiate my having to do with things that has to do with my identity. I will just simply not negotiate that. And to tell me not to ask questions, that is non-negotiable, because I will ask a lot of questions. It's like I always say to my husband, until I have the understanding, the complete understanding of whatever it is that we are talking about or sharing, or information that we have, I must have total understanding, my understanding. This way, if I'm going to share it again, I can deliver with confidence, because this is what I know. You can take whatever position works for you. And you can have some more non-negotiables. You can have a lot of things that are non-negotiables. Like for me, um, when it comes to relationships, I am not going to put myself in a place where I am not seen. I'm not going to put myself in a place where I am tolerated and not celebrated. I don't even want you to accept me. I expect you to embrace me, because when I'm with people that are maybe different from me, and with different thoughts, opinions, and so forth, I am going to embrace them for who they are. It doesn't mean that I'll spend a lot of time with them, especially if they're negative, if they're chaotic or full of drama or all of that. I am not. I don't I won't allow myself to be in spaces that where I am simply tolerated and not celebrated, or where there's a lot of negativity. If I know somebody is negative, or they just can't, and everybody has the right to be however they want, pessimistic or optimistic, negative or positive. For me, again, it's alignment, and I'm generally going to align with the person um, that is positive, and that is headed in a direction of knowing and having expectations for good, for better, for best. That's just me. Again, you can create your own list of non-negotiables. What are the things that are important to you? What are the things that, when I think of non-negotiables, like for me, in any relationship, for me, respect is the foundation. Even in my own personal relationship with my husband, we honor respect more than we honor love. Because you can love today and not love tomorrow, but respect is something where you look at someone, and there is honor, there's admiration, there is regard, high regard. Respect to me is the ultimate. And when I have relationships, we have fun, not just, my husband and I, but, with my friends, but it's all within the context of respect. That is the foundation. And that is a non-negotiable. That is a non-negotiable. Respect for me is a non-negotiable. Um, when it comes to interaction, like in any relationship, abuse, whether it's mental, physical, emotional, whatever, again, or sometimes some people are passive aggressive. They tell you things, and they say, "Oh, I'm only kidding," but there's truth associated with that. You need to be able to identify that, and you decide whether you want to succumb to that or not, whether you want to accept that or not. Passive aggressiveness from people, that is non-negotiable. Because if somebody likes you, you like them, and you have a good relationship, then let it be. But sometimes, and that's just the human element. Sometimes people want to be one up, and then they would say something. There are people that it's hard for them to celebrate your wins, your victories, your accomplishments, your whatever. It's hard. And there are things that are factored in, jealousy and envy and all of that. And you have to navigate that. That is just life. But once you are aware of it, once you are aware, then you remain mindful. You make that a non-negotiable. Personal growth, that's something for me. I'm going to always be evolving. So the person that you may have known yesterday, I have evolved into something else, and my mindset may change. I don't know why I think this thing. Sorry about that. I was just looking at my camera, and I thought it was a little off. But anyway, yeah, so personal growth, that's important. my life, the way I conduct myself. And that's one of the reasons that I value authenticity and just living organically, because before that, when I was in religion, you're guided, your operating system was based on fear. That was the button, the function of your operating system, based on fear. So when I would do things or say things or not say things or not do this, not do that, it was because I was motivated by fear, not by a genuine uh, presentation like this is me. No, because that whole concept, that whole belief system is based on punishment and reward. And you always want to be in good graces with, the deity that subscribed to that religion, which is Christianity. You don't never want to offend God. You don't want to what was the other one? Steal God's glory. So if I accomplish something, it's you never take credit. In the meantime, I want to say, well, yes, I did this and I did it and I put the work in and I studied and I researched and I did the other. No, you don't take any kind of credit. You give all the credit to God. Well, I don't subscribe to that mindset anymore. So whatever it is that I accomplish, then it's my accomplishment. And I say that unapologetically. Again, that for me is a non-negotiable. That you may have issues with that because of fear of punishment based on do not steal God's glory, because that's in the doctrine of the Christian dogma. So again, those things are non-negotiable, which are the rules, the laws, regulations, and all of that system. It's to follow a system. It's not it. And my morals is not from any kind of belief system. My morals is based on my ideas, my definition, the way I see things, the way I view people, which is so much more honorable, because I am not going to do you harm just because or because of. No, I'm not going to do you harm at all. Now, you may not like the way I come off based on whatever interaction we have, but I'm not going to do you harm just to satisfy, a whim, or because God said or whatever. When I say there has to be a death, you determine what dies in your life. You can, whatever it is that works for you, it's not a matter of good or bad, right or wrong. It's coming to that place of your own identity. And because you're coming into who you are, what is happening is that you are returning, you are remembering the or discovering, bringing, opening the original manuscript of self. You are becoming the architect of self. Everything else so far has been external influences. And until you become the architect of self, you will always go through limitation, anxiety, depression, doubt, fear, worry, all of those emotions. Why? Because everything is from the outside in. It's not from the inside out. And you can't say, oh, no, I'm not influenced or governed by this, that, the other. That's not so. Anything that's from the outside in that doesn't originate with you is something external. It's external influence. It's someone telling you what to think, who you are, and what to believe and how to live. That's not even, that's the truth. That is the truth. And unless it comes from you, unless it comes from you. You decide, this is who I am. And you start walking in that authentic self, in your authenticity. You don't have to think about anything. You don't have to, excuse me, you don't have to try to remember anything. You see someone and you don't think about, am I going to be kind to that person? No, because kindness emanates from you. You are kind, not nice, because nice is a social construct. Be nice. No, be kind. Some people don't deserve you to be nice to them, but I can be kind to you and show you respect. Virtue of you just being a human, show you respect. But I don't have to be nice to you. I don't go by nice. Your priorities, you're going to have to set your priorities. You're going to have to, well, when I say you're going to have to, these are things that I did. And I'm sharing it with you so that you will know what kind of stages or processes I went through to come to the place that I am. And again, all of this is not, you're not you're not changing your identity to become someone new. You're discovering who you have always been. And you're going back to that place and recovering, seizing it back, taking it back, season it back. This is me. This is who I am. This is what I'm all about. And once you get to that place, then, the sense of confidence, of assurance, of boldness, all of that becomes alive. Why? Because it's the authentic you. It is who you are. You don't have to remember. You don't have to perform. You don't have to pretend. You don't have to make believe. You're not operating in fear. You don't have to remember, well, okay, I'm supposed to do this, I'm supposed to do that. You don't have to remember none of that. You stop judging yourself. You stop blaming yourself. You stop criticizing yourself. You stop talking down to yourself. You stop calling yourself a sinner. And the decisions that you make, you stop labeling them, because when you call yourself a sinner or I have sinned, it's a derogatory behavior, if you will, towards self. It's a judgment towards self. What is sin? What is sin? If you go back and you read the Bible, you see God ordering a certain group of people to go and kill another group of people. And then they say, and take the virgins for yourself. So what is sin? What is sin? See, we get so hung up. I'm talking this because that's what you have said. So if you spend time thinking about that, you have sinned. I mean, what is it? You have to define it. And this way you can determine why you submit to that belief system. And then you'll realize that it's all a belief. It is all a belief. There's no proof about anything. And I know, because I have walked that straight and narrow for many years. And it's been this year is like 17 years since we walked away from all that stringent, stifling belief system to a life of freedom and fun and joy and peace. And right now it's the soft living. That's our season. And it's just being wonderful, because what happens, it brings you to a place of rest. Not lazy, not do nothing, but a place of rest. No anxiety, no rush. If you try to do something, it doesn't work. then that's okay. Then you'll know that you'll come into alignment with what works. And that is the mindset that you have. My husband and I, as I shared with you many times, we always say things always work out for us. As a matter of fact, things always work out better than we anticipate, better than we think, better than we plan, better than we expect. But we always like raise the bar. We raise it high. And then it's like the universe exceeds that. So it keeps us in a place always knowing that things will work out for us in every situation. And I encourage you to do the same. Get yourself out of that mindset of reward and punishment. If you do this, you'll be rewarded. If you do that, you'll be punished. Because that's no way to live. It keeps you in a mindset that is, hot and cold. Good and bad, right or wrong. No, you just need to know what works. You decide what works because you see it. You'll see what works for you. That's why I don't go by, oh, I believe this, I believe that. No. You need to know. You need to know what works for you. You need to know what works for you. And get out of that survival mode. You need to be awake, my friend. To be awake, to wake up. To wake up. It's easy to stay in that place of comfort, in a comfort zone. It's so easy to stay there, to reside there in a place of comfort. We stay there because it is so, but there's no growth. When you stay in a place of comfort, I was talking to someone over the week, recently, and they said, well, I'm taking care of my mental health. And I said, wow, that's great. I thought that was great because, there was tendencies to be negative and pessimistic and to follow the collective. Many times people do that. You follow the collective so that you can fit in, because the moment you start going, and, you have to be willing to stand alone. And came a point where even now, I am willing to stand alone in what I believe, in what I know. If you're not willing to stand alone, then of course you're going to be pressured. And sometimes it's self-pressure. Excuse me. You're going to be pressured to conform, to follow. Because why? You want to be validated. You want to be affirmed. You want permission. You want to be approved by the masses. Why? Because if not, then you can feel ostracized. You can feel like an outsider. As far as I'm concerned, that is okay. Now, not everyone can take that position because, people want community, they want group, they want, closeness and so forth. And there's nothing wrong with that. You just need to decide what works for you. But because I was willing to stand alone, what has been happening is that people that align with me are coming my way, and where we can have great conversations, and they have a mindset that, and a narrative that resonates with me, and so forth. But if I had to stand alone, again, this soft life season, it's just a place of peace. Peace is not someplace you go and you find peace. No, peace is you. I am the peace of my life, and it all has to do with my mindset. I don't have to go miles away. I don't have to go to Hawaii. I don't have to go to, to find peace. No. I am peace. Now, did I get here overnight? Probably not. No, I didn't. I didn't get here overnight. I learned that, in my process of evolving and personal development and so forth. I came into this whole thing about the soft life, and I, not only did I go through it, thinking, studying what it is, but I created my own. Do you realize, and I've shared this with you many times, everything that you see, that you hear, that you read, that you come upon, do you not realize that it's created by someone? It is created by someone. Everything is created by someone. A thought, an opinion, someone's view, their standpoint. So, what about you? What about your ability to think critically, process things, analyze things? You have to understand, my friend, that you are well able. All the chips work, put them to work. Using your critical thinking skills and your emotional intelligence, put them to work, and you'll see the life you create for yourself. Put them to work. I had to start with the non-negotiables. And, when I learned about self-betrayal or self-abandonment, I think to myself, if there's one person I don't want to hurt mentally or emotionally or in any kind of way, is myself. I don't want to hurt myself. And I don't want to deprive of me to give to you. In other words, and again, it can be all relative, because people with kids, they would say, well, I rather go without and to give my kids. Well, that's a personal choice. And again, it's not good or bad, right or wrong. You decide that. But when I'm in the airplane, when I am traveling and the flight attendant's coming, she's talking about the oxygen mask and whatever. What does she say? She said, you put on the oxygen mask first, and then you put it on to the minor that's next to you. She didn't say, oh, because it's your child, you save her first, you put on her mask first and then yours. No, and there's a reason for that. She says, you put your oxygen mask on first, and then you put it on, you apply it to the minor that's sitting next to you. Again, my friend, it's not a matter of good or bad, right or wrong. Discover what works for you. Discover what works for you. Now, these non-negotiables that I shared with you, that stands. And, as far as burying the old me, of course, I've done that years ago. But even so, I continue to do that. Things that may come up, thoughts, ideas, part of that belief system creeping in, I demolish it. Thoughts, demolish. Constant demolition happening. Identity deconstruction. That's what it is. You deconstruct the identity that was imposed upon you. Deconstruct it, kill it, murder it, demolish it, and stop living accepting crumbs. That is a non-negotiable. When it comes to your life, no longer accept crumbs. No more crumbs. No more leftovers. I'm going to have this after life has dealt, the best, the abundance, the feast to others. And you settle for the crumbs. No mas, no more. Raise your standards and set your boundaries and start putting a demand on life, so that you can be the one with the abundance. You can be the one that feasts. And you stop bad mouthing yourself, or again, you have to change your mentality, change your mindset. Stop saying you can't do this, you can't do that. it's too expensive. You can't afford this. You can't afford that. Stop saying those things. Because, when you say that, you are actually reinforcing your core belief. But if you want to change it, and if you find that you like something that is, you might find, let's say, a bottle of perfume that you absolutely like. And you go to the store and, you spray it and you like it and so forth. And then you realize, the thing is like $300. Whether you're in a position or not to buy it, you develop the lingo that you want to share. Either you buy it and you walk out happy. But if you're challenged at the moment, you say, well, I'm going to have to think about this. And then you go home and you make a decision. You decide how you're going to put it together so that you can get it. If it's something that you really want, why should you not have it? Why should you not have it? Once you get bold and start thinking that you should have the things you deserve, you have to believe you deserve it. I told you, my dad told me that when I was at home, a kid. I'm in the store and I see the dress, and the dress is like way expensive. And he said, you want it, you deserve it. You deserve a good life. I took him at his word. And you know what? It's worked for me. I took my dad at his word. I think I just deserve the best. I deserve, I deserve a good job. I deserve a good pay. I deserve a good relationship. I deserve a good husband. I deserve good relationships. I deserve what I want. But that's not singular. That's not just me. You deserve the things that you want, dream of, desire. You deserve the best, my friend. You deserve the start putting a lock. Start shutting the door on those negative thoughts, and start burying everything that no longer serves you. Have a funeral. Have a funeral. Bury them until they no longer exist. Bury the old self. Identity deconstruction. Deconstruct the old identity because it is not yours, and become the architect of self. Become the architect of yourself. The architect of self. You decide what you want. You decide the lifestyle that you want. You decide the things that you deserve, and you decide the things that you are going to have. It's not up to anyone else but you. You decide. You determine. You call the shots. And this is not something you have to share. This is something that you can start on your own. You can start on your own with a mindset of abundance. Begin to feast on life. Feast and enjoy all the things. You need to enjoy it now. There are a lot of people that are living for, in their minds, what they call the afterlife. I'm telling you, there's no such thing as an afterlife. But I'm not here to push or promote my, understanding in the things that I know. That's not what I'm here. You can believe whatever you want to believe, but I'm telling you, while you are here, you should, I want to encourage you to live a good life here, because guess what, my friend? This is what you know. This is what you have. This is present tense. This is what you have now. This is tangible. This life, when you get up and you go out and you get in your car and you go drive someplace and do whatever, this is the life that you know. This is what you have. This is what you know. You have no idea what's going to happen after you depart this sphere. You have no idea. You believe some things. So in the meantime, what do you do here? You kind of suffer, you go without, you lack, you depress, you worried, you afraid, you doubt. Imagine that. That is self-betrayal. That is betraying your present self. That's betraying yourself, waiting for something else to happen that you have no proof, no idea, no confirmation, nothing. It is all in your mind. But you are betraying the life that you have now. You are betraying yourself. You are abandoning your needs, your wants, your dreams, your desires because of something that's been promised that is unverifiable. It's got to change, my friend. It's got to change. And that change can only come from you. It is your life, and you can do whatever you choose to do with it. I just want to encourage you because for me, life is sweet. And my expectations grow by the minute. It just grows and grows, and I always expect the best, believe the best, and so forth, to enjoy my life here and now. I want to encourage you to do the same. Do what works, discover what works for you, and do that. My friend, I'm going to leave you with that so that you can sup on that. In the meantime, I want you to touch base with me. You see the information down here, info@thecynthialinoxshow.com. You can drop me a note and I will respond. And all the tips that you share and give me and things that you want me to share, I am more than delighted. At some point, I'm going to need a mod. Do you know what a mod is? A mod is a moderator that knows how to moderate. When you go live and you can open the lines where people can respond and ask questions as you speak, as I speak, and so forth. So until I find someone that is able to do that, the moderator, that would be something different to do. So, but in the meantime, yes, drop me a note at info@thecynthialinoxshow.com. And I will respond to that or create topics that respond to your questions. This show is aired every Thursday, 2 p.m. Central Standard Time, right here. And if you can't meet me right here for the live show, then you see the icons down here: Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. You can pick it up 24/7 on those platforms. It streams 24/7. In the meantime, have a fantastic weekend. Have a great weekend, whatever you choose to do. And I will see you same time next week, right here. Amigos, ciao again. Have a phenomenal weekend, and we'll see each other next week virtually. You'll see me, and imagine